All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to jump into something really fascinating. How on earth do you value a building that's, well, never really finished? A building that's designed to change its layout, its purpose, and its value over and over again. So full credit for this one goes to Chandra Mast. She's a general appraiser in Pennsylvania who's always got her finger on the pulse of how AI is shaking things up in the real estate world. You should definitely look her up on LinkedIn if you want to dive deeper into this stuff. So here's how we're going to break this down for you. First, we'll look at why our buildings are just, well, broken. Then we'll get into a new philosophy called open building, see how it actually works in the real world, explore what it means for all of us, and finally, bring it all home to what this means for appraising the future. All right, let's get right into it. The whole problem, really, is that we're building these static, rigid things in a world that's constantly moving. I mean, really think about it for a second. We put up an office building for one company or an apartment for a family of 4. But when that company moves or the kids grow up, what happens? Usually, a wrecking ball. It's just this incredible cycle of waste, both in terms of money and materials.
You know, this isn't a new idea. An architect named John Haberkin was talking about this way back in the 60s. He argued that we have this innate need to shape the spaces we live in. And by building these unchangeable boxes, we're cutting off that natural relationship with our own homes.
And this slide just lays it out so clearly, right? On one side, you have these rigid buildings designed for one thing. On the other side, you've got our actual lives. Families change, tech evolves, we start working from home. It's just a fundamental mismatch.
Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, that brings us to this really cool philosophy, a completely new way of thinking called open building.
So here's the big idea. It's actually pretty simple. You split a building into 2 different layers. You've got the permanent base building, that's the structure, the foundation, the main pipes. Think of that like your computer's hardware. Then you have the fit out, the interior walls, the kitchen, the bathrooms. That's your software. And here's the kicker. You can update the software anytime you want without having to junk the entire machine. And you know, this isn't some futuristic fantasy just for brand new buildings. Just look at the Kales building in Detroit. It's this beautiful old 1924 office building that just wasn't useful as an office anymore. Instead of demolition, it was converted into apartments, giving it a whole new lease on life. That's open building in action.
Okay, so how does this whole hardware-software thing actually work, like in the real world? Let's look under the hood.
So this slide shows the secret sauce, the real technical breakthrough. Traditionally, all the plumbing in an apartment building is interconnected. But with open building, each unit's plumbing and mechanical systems are independent. What does that mean? It means you can completely gut and redesign your kitchen and bathroom, and your neighbors won't even know. It's a total game changer.
Right, so this is what you start with, a totally empty shell. The hardware is all there. The sturdy structure and the hookups for your utilities are ready to go. It's literally a blank canvas, just waiting for you to make it your own.
And from that empty space, maybe a family decides, okay, we need this 2-bedroom layout. So they install that software. The walls go up, the kitchen goes in, and boom, you have a 2-bedroom apartment. But what happens 5 years later? The kids move out, and they want something different. Or a new person moves in who's a single professional and wants a huge open-plan loft. No problem at all. You can install a completely different software package. And that right there, that's the aha moment. The same hardware running totally different software. It's all about flexibility. So when you think about it, this is way bigger than just architecture. It fundamentally changes a building from being a static product to being an ongoing process. This example from South Africa really hits it home. On the left, you have a standard government-issued house. It's a rigid product. You get what you get. On the right, you have the Empower Shack. It's not a finished house, it's a flexible starting point, a process that empowers the resident to adapt and build it out over time. The point here, and it's so important, is that something like the Empower Shack isn't just handing someone a house. It's giving them a framework they can take ownership of. It's a complete shift in power, from the developer to the person who actually lives there. And this idea fits perfectly with this huge global movement called the circular economy. This quote says it all. This changes buildings into material banks for the future. Think about that. When you renovate, you're not creating a dumpster full of trash. You're making a withdrawal from a bank of valuable materials that can be reused or resold.
Okay, so let's bring this all back home. If our buildings are no longer static things, if they're these living, adaptable systems, what in the world does that mean for appraisers?
I mean, this is the big one, right? The whole practice of appraisal is built on comparing known things. But how do you put a number on something when its highest and best use might be one thing today and something totally different next year? So this table kind of breaks down that new way of thinking. You're no longer appraising one fixed product. You're appraising two things, the long-term base building and the short-term fit-out. The value isn't just market comps, it's the base value plus a value for its adaptability. Obsolescence gets way less scary because you can just replace the obsolete parts. And at the very end of its life, it's not a liability, it's not a demolition cost, it's an asset, a material bank with actual calculable value. And this is where AI comes into the picture, and why this explainer is called what it is. Trying to juggle all of those new variables would be a nightmare for a human. But an AI could process all of that. The adaptability, the material value, future market scenarios, and give a valuation that's way more sophisticated and dynamic. So we'll leave you with this final question to chew on. If a building's value isn't a fixed number anymore, but this fluid thing that's always changing based on its potential, does an appraisal stop being a one-time snapshot and become, well, more like a continuous live streaming calculation? That's the future we might be headed towards. Thanks for joining us.